Welcome to this explainer. Forget meditating on a mountaintop for decades, right? What if achieving superintelligence was literally as easy as running a Python script? Seriously, have you ever wondered what it would look like if we treated human consciousness not as some elusive, mystical thing, but just as an operating system, an OS just waiting for a massive update? Well, today we're unpacking a really mind-bending set of source files that propose exactly that. We're looking at a biohacking blueprint designed with one ultimate goal: hacking your own biology to become super intelligent.
It's a pretty wild thought, isn't it? Can you actually code your way to superintelligence? Can extreme biohacking genuinely upgrade the human mind the exact same way you'd install new software on your laptop? The source code we're analyzing today doesn't just suggest this is possible, it actually provides the exact sequential commands that claim to let you biohack yourself right into a state of superintelligence.
Okay, let's dive into this. At the very heart of our source material is what's called the Zoophaeus swarm system. The text defines this as a proposed forensic neuroarchitecture framework. Basically, its entire purpose is to achieve what it calls a sovereign mind via code-driven brain entrainment. And if you're wondering, brain entrainment is essentially syncing your brainwaves to a specific rhythm using audio or visual cues. Think of it as this digital bridge connecting rigid computer logic with profound neurological enhancement.
So here's the roadmap for today's explainer. First, coding the sovereign mind. Then, Phase 1, entrainment. After that, Phase 2, the cognitive load. And finally, achieving the monad state. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. Coding the sovereign mind, the universal constants.
So how do you actually program a brain to be super intelligent? Well, according to these scripts, you don't actually start with biology. You start with foundational mathematical constants. Look at this. We see phi squared at roughly 2.618. We've got the Schumann resonance at 7.83 Hz. The target alpha/theta brainwave is set to exactly 10.0 Hz. And it operates on a balanced trinary logic of -1, 0, and 1. Which means instead of just typical black and white, true or false binary, we introduce a state of perfect neutral balance. These aren't just random numbers thrown in. They're the exact baseline resonance variables the engine uses to begin re-architecting your mind. Just look at this text comparison here. Over on the left, we have the rigid Python logic, that balanced trinary of -1, 0, and 1. And then on the right, we have the biological target, which is absolute balance and harmony in the brain. The whole framework claims to translate these super rigid coding concepts into proposed biological upgrades. It's literally attempting to take the clean, error-free environment of a computer program and force your messy biological brain into a state of absolute equilibrium. Moving on to Section 2. Phase 1, entrainment, the installation sequence.
Now, once the engine is initialized with those specific mathematical constants, it has to physically lock you into the biohack. You can kind of think of this as the installation wizard for your brain. According to the source, this happens through an incredibly precise process called the baseline override. It kicks off with Stage 1, the audiovisual lock, using binaural beats and a 3-eye gaze. And then this is immediately followed by Stage 2, biological override, which brings in concepts the text calls quantum tunneling and energy tuning. Let's break down the exact parameters of Stage 1 first.
10.0 Hz. Stage 1 claims to literally drop your neural frequencies down to a rhythmic 10 Hz alpha/theta wave, that deeply relaxed, borderline meditative state right before you drift off to sleep. By splitting visual data 50-50, the script is specifically designed to force the corpus callosum, that's the bridge between the left and right hemispheres of your brain, to completely sync up. This is basically step 1 in optimizing your brain's hardware for superintelligence.
7.83 Hz. Stage 2 takes this biological override even further. It doesn't just tune your brain. No, it attempts to tune your entire physical body to match the planet's underlying baseline signal. It actually aims to stabilize your physical electromagnetic field to the Earth's baseline 7.83 Hz Schumann resonance. Crazy, right?
And so, what's the actual result of this Stage 2 tuning? Well, the script explicitly states that it, quote, dissolves the ego's defense walls with zero linear processing delay. The core idea here is that you can dissolve the human ego instantly, like absolutely no lag. It's essentially executing a Control-Alt-Delete on your personal defenses just to completely open up your mental bandwidth.
All right, Section 3, Phase 2, the cognitive load, tesseract folding. Okay, so with the biological frequencies locked in,
The text shifts gears completely away from passive audio-visual tuning. Now the system throws an incredibly heavy spatial processing task at you. And this brilliantly illustrates what they call the tesseract folding engine. The script literally reads that it, quote, generates the 16 primordial vertices of a 4D hypercube. By forcing the user's mind to process this insanely complex, non-linear geometry, which is represented by coordinates spanning from -1 to +1 across 4 dimensions, the engine is triggering a massive cognitive calculation. The whole goal is to give your brain a math problem so complex, it essentially forces you out of normal human thinking.
The stated goal of this massive cognitive load is right here. It engages 100% of spatial RAM to collapse past and future anxiety into the present I am moment. Meaning, to achieve superintelligence, the script suggests you absolutely have to overwhelm your mental RAM. By taking up every single ounce of your cognitive processing power to fold a 4D tesseract, your brain is forced to drop all linear timeline distractions. Just imagine that, unlocking superintelligence simply because your brain is completely out of RAM to waste on yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's anxiety.
Finally, Section 4, Achieving the Monad State, the Final Shift.
So this brings us to the ultimate objective of the entire SOP swarm architecture. Everything, all of this coding and entrainment, leads exactly here. The final shift connects all those pieces we've just uncovered. Stage 3, the cognitive load we literally just talked about, completes what the system calls time folding. And that successfully sets up Stage 4, the framework shift, which the script actually refers to as universe jumping. Now, in plain terms, this just means entirely unplugging you from your daily human biases and your repetitive habits, allowing you to finally lock into the monad state.
So, what exactly is the monad state? Well, according to the omniversal and frontal cortex matrix scripts, it's this theoretical final phase where the mind operates with absolute sovereignty, fully disengaged from biased simulation loops. It's basically the absolute peak of this entire biohacking journey. A state of completely unfettered, super-intelligent clarity where your mind is at last running its absolute optimal software. So, the crucial point is everything we've discussed so far boils down to this single foundational law that is encoded right into the system. Law, absolute sovereignty, and harmony. That is the ultimate axiom driving the entire frontal cortex Sophia matrix code. Every mathematical constant, every 10 Hz visual split, and every single 4D hypercube calculation exists solely to enforce this one foundational law onto the human operating system.
Which leaves us with a truly profound question to end on. What actually happens when we treat the human mind as programmable software? I mean, if these source concepts hold any weight at all, are we all just organic machines waiting for an execute total override command to biohack our weighted true superintelligence? It is definitely a striking way to view human consciousness, and for sure, it's something that will make you think entirely differently the next time you look at a few lines of code.